Good morning, all of you. I hope you can hear me and see me well. Just give me a sign. It's the first time I'm doing this technical stuff on my own. While George, you came and you were in the background. I'm really happy and relieved when I saw you coming up there. All good. Okay, great. So my name is Nirmala Werner. I'm speaking from Germany. And I'm a meditation, embodiment, and Dharma teacher. And one of my main teachers is Godwin Samaratne from Sri Lanka. And I was really touched yesterday since, I think Frederica it was. She mentioned at the end of the session that Godwin would have been pleased to hear these teachings. And what I hear from this is that he was teaching, like, I adopted some of his teachings. And the weird thing about that is that I have never met him. And still, he's one of my main teachers. So when I arrived in Nilambe Meditation Center, where I spent almost a year in complete silence, I spent a year in almost complete silence. The whole place, he had died like 2 years before, I think. And that was 1960 maybe. No, well, don't remember, 2001, I think. The whole place was still full of his teachings. He was kind of in the trees, he was in the place, in the birds, in the monkeys, in the air there. Like, it was so rich. So his teachings were really getting me. And they were only little, he didn't write a book. They were only little, like, leaflets or paper sheets where you could read something he said. Some people noted down. Yeah, so I really liked that yesterday, since it goes together with what I'm sharing this week, that everything leans into everything else and that we are all connected. So that's the topic for the week, longing for belonging. And I will be talking about 15 minutes, and then we have 30 minutes of guided meditation. And at the end, we have a time for questions or for sharings or for reflections, whatever's coming up for you. So you are so welcome to use the chat for interaction. It really makes the space alive. And when you have a question or a sharing or something, you could put it in capital letters there in the chat. So there's more likely the chance that I will see it. Yeah. And if you want to have a question and you want to explore it while sharing with each other on the screen, you could raise your hand. There is this little hand down there on the screen, and and then I invite you in. Okay, just as a brief resumption from yesterday, I like to read a poem which covers what I was talking about yesterday, and the poem is from Giannina Wedde. I translated it myself with the help of the internet, and she uses the word spirits, but could also be ghosts. Like, I wasn't sure. Like, I think the German, if you put it from German, would be ghosts, but spirits works as well. The spirits we created. Most people do not fear the darkness, only the demons that wander so restlessly in it. The sadnesses we forbid ourselves because we don't feel the pain and no longer wanted to shed a tear, the fear that we drowned out with laughter, so that it would not overwhelm us and race untamed in our heartbeat. The anger that we sent back into our midst because we didn't dare to stand up for ourselves. And we were too tired to fight another battle. The shame we hid when a look without pity fell on our failure. Who will save all these ghosts if not us? Who will take them tenderly in our arms and listen to their silent lamentations? Who will dare to look at them all with gazes that are like balm? Darkness is a resting place for all beings, and Mother Earth for the world of tomorrow. And only when we comfort the outcast spirits rises from the things we do a deep peace. I do want to invite somebody to our Sangha today, and this is Jarvis J. Masters. It's him, and he's sitting in California in prison since more than 40 years. And you see him here on the picture with Pema children. He converted to Buddhism more than about 30 years ago. In prison, he was visited, obviously, like by Pema children, but by other well-known meditation teachers. And also the Dalai Lama is with him, like has been in contact with him. And they all believe, like a lot of also from the law side, they believe that he's innocent. And I have written a letter to him yesterday, and I like to read you some part of the letter. And I don't know if he will receive the letter, but since everything leans into everything else, I'm sure something of our teaching will reach him. And I was very touched by his book, since he's like in this incredible, difficult circumstances and still being able to practice a light heart. Wow. So inspiring for me. Dear Javis, I've been thinking of you while preparing these talks. You're sitting in this isolation cell since 21 years. So he has been in prison more than 40 years, 21 years in isolation. Sentenced to the death penalty for a crime that you did not commit. Sitting there, turning the TV on so you have some light for reading Dharma books and meditating in the middle of the night, because that's the only time where there is not the noise of extremely painful suffering around you. I will invite the Sangha to sit together with you for the rest of this week, and then I invite you to sit with us. It's a global online platform, but no need to connect via the internet. We know you belong. You do belong. And we belong. Each of us. Even to the things that we don't want to belong to. So while we are here practicing together, he is practicing in prison. And I'm inviting all people who are isolated and don't feel the feeling of belonging. It is so difficult to be human, isn't it? And challenging to be true to the light of absolute truth and still respect our human nature is there. And the practice of belonging is a daily practice of integrity. We need to practice showing up. We need to allow us to be raw. We are part of the mess around us. We belong even to the things we don't want to belong to. It's not another species who's producing weapons and making war. It's us. And we are part of all that. We are part of the system of suppression and domination, and those systems are living in us. And the question is here, where do we see these patterns operating in ourselves, the patterns of oppression and dominating? We also belong to the actions we don't want to belong to. Our mind has picked up the heritage of violence and rage and injustice and oppression because it has been going on for so long. Oh, the screen has frozen. Okay. what to do. Is it still frozen? Okay, but sound is good. So I just keep going on, I think. I'm sorry about that. So I was talking about that this pain comes from our conditioned patterns and patterns which we don't understand yet. Yeah, I mean, if the sound is good, you know, we could worry about so many things. That's, I think, fine. Okay. We all share the same needs, and this is so so amazing about that, because our strategies to fulfill our needs, they're so different. Like, I once had a student, and he had a full-time job at the army. So while my need for safety would be fulfilled by not producing weapons or by eradicating all weapons, his need for safety is fulfilled by carrying a weapon on him all the time and being able to use it. So it's the same need, but the strategies are so different, and so often they're unwholesome and destructive. So they're like, and why I'm saying this in the context of belonging is because the way we kick ourselves away from belonging to ourselves and to others is judging. Yesterday I was talking about judging ourselves, but we are also all the time judging others. Like, I mean, it's going on so much. And in meditation practice, we can just sit there, we observe it, it's coming and going, coming and going. And in life, we often tend to react. And one practice we can invite there to really understand why another person, and I'm also talking about persons who are obviously causing a lot of suffering in this world. We don't know how it would have been to walk in their shoes, or how it would be to walk in their shoes. We don't know how it would be to be this person from the day of their conception. And this is a practice I can really recommend if you have difficulties with somebody. First thing is to really listen in order to understand the person. And the other thing is to imagine you had been this person from the day of conception onwards. The Dalai Lama, he once visited a concentration camp in Poland or Germany, I think it was Poland. And he said, I'm so glad I haven't lived in that time. I wouldn't know what I would have done if I would have been one of the guards there. We don't know how we would act if our life had been different, or we had lived on a different time. We are really in this together here. So this practice of belonging really means to be our longing. That means to embody everything which is coming up in our judgments, to be our longing. So when we sit in meditation, it's maybe more easy the practice in a way that we have the time to feel our sensation, we feel thoughts coming and going. There might be silence, space, unnameable, and things I can't find a name for. And also we know in times that some really strong thoughts and patterns show up in meditation again and again and again. And we find this operating in our daily life. And we are also good in spiritual bypassing and thinking, oh, I know this already. But this is just part of the identity we are creating, part of the story. So the invitation is here. If you have strong patterns coming up in your practice and you are operating in your mind, that you really take time for them, that you really embody them, and that you understand this identity really allowing the stories, the memories, the assumptions, the emotions, which coming together with this story, allowing the story, allowing to feel it, to embody it, allowing the grief. And then when we really allow this identity to be there, then it can dissolve at some point. That's a natural process. And in Buddhism, we are taught to not attach to our identities. And the practice here is to feel how real they are in the relative truth. The relative truth is the reality which our mind is creating. And there's a misunderstanding which is also happen quite a lot. And this is the understanding that we shouldn't get involved with our identities. And that's just so easy to construct a new story like, oh no, I don't have racist thoughts. I'm a generous person. I'm like this or like that. We don't know who we are until we really come to the ultimate truth. We don't know. And until we don't know, we make up stories about ourselves and we identify ourselves by our jobs, by our bank accounts, what we can produce, maybe our status. We have our stories around gender, sex, race, status. And it's not about, and this is a misunderstanding that we kind of push away our identities, don't want to have them. The practice is to understand them, really get interested in them. The way of being free of our identity is feeling how strong they are, because those separate us from others, separate us from society, from the world. And it does take discipline and practice to really inhabit these identities. So the invitation is to really go with it, to walk with it, maybe through the forest. Keep the identity with you in your mind while moving through space. Embody the space with this identity and just be curious what's happening from that. So we're going together in the practice. I hope now you can hear me and maybe see me, but in the practice you don't need to see me anyway. So get comfortable, please. And we are in this together, also in the shadows and the darkness of the earth and of other people. And like I read yesterday from Martin Luther King Jr., I will never be what I ought to be until you are what you ought to be. And you will never be what you ought to be until I am what I ought to be. Our fixed views, our identities, they have an impact on everything else, on the people around us. And our love and care and compassion has impact. It's like waves in the ocean. So maybe exhaling everything you have heard so far, everything you have spoken today already, maybe in the morning. And the invitation from my side is always to lay down if you like, and of course sitting or standing or even movement is fine. Everything which helps you to lower down the nervous system, the alarm system, everything which releases tension in different layers of your system. So that could mean that you drop down your shoulders a bit more. And maybe even a bit more. Could mean that you relax a bit more in the forehead and in the temples. And release maybe some tension from the jaw, the teeth, the tongue, the lips, the whole inside of the mouth. Maybe you can drop down the chest bone into the space between the shoulder blades. Allowing the diaphragm to move freely between the pelvic floor and the heart. Really taking time to settle in. Maybe it's helpful for you to feel the backside of your body, the back of the head, the back of the neck, your whole back, buttocks, the back of the legs. A bit of sinking in the backside of your body. And just being so tender and kind with yourself. Maybe your hands want to find a place on the body to give you a nourishing contact. And if the nervous system is very agitated, you could bring your fingers below the collarbones and keep them there during this practice. So taking the time to settle in while Maybe making the breath a bit longer. Taking time for the inhalation. Taking time for the exhalation. Arriving in your own pace. Nothing to do, nothing to achieve, just nourishing yourself. Nourishing yourself maybe with long breaths, or with hands gently, kindly moving on body parts. Where can you let go even a bit more? Allowing all parts of the body to belong. And feeling what's coming up when you hear this invitation. And also this belongs. And imagining, if you like, you can also keep practicing this way or any way which brings you in contact with soothing, with maybe space, with the feeling of home, the feeling of belonging. And if you like, you could imagine a person you know, could be anybody, just somebody you're a bit familiar with, and allowing this face of this person to rise up in front of your inner eye. As if your eyes would gaze softly on this other person, feeling the vulnerability of this other human being. This person also has a body and a heart, a mind. You could repeat the sentence for yourself if you'd like to. This person also has a body, a heart, a mind, just like me, just like me. This human being there in front of me knows suffering, pain, physical discomfort, just like me. Maybe this person has felt unworthy and unlovable at times. Just like me. And while saying these sentences, you're so invited to be aware of what's responding in your mind and your body and your heart, what's coming up for you. Maybe connecting to the space of not knowing. Through allowing the body to sink a bit more into earth and to open a bit more into the space around this body. And from there, in the space, meeting maybe the same person as before, maybe another person shows up. And saying to yourself, also this person has been hurt emotionally, physically, has been emotional at some point, has been jealous or angry, has had fear, has acted in unwholesome ways. Also, this person had been confused and felt lost at times. Just like me, just like me. Also, this human being has a longing for belonging, a longing for friendship, a longing to be understood, just like me, just like me. Also, this person has had some unskillful ways of fulfilling needs, unskillful ways of trying to be happy, just like me, just like me. And at one point, this person will be dying and will be separated from anything around. just like me. I'm feeling the vulnerability and the suffering of this person. And feeling into your own vulnerability. Bringing tender and care to yourself. Tender and care towards yourself, towards this body, towards these feelings. Towards these thoughts. Maybe imagining that your breath is spreading tenderness and care and love into all the cells, onto all the membranes and beyond. Opening, widening with tenderness, with care, with compassion. Out to the people, the animals, the plants on this planet and beyond. And while being in this form of meditation for the last minutes, listening with your body, with your cells, to this poem from Jo Hajo. Remember the sky that you were born under. Know each of the stars' stories. Remember the moon. Know who she is. Remember the sun's birth at dawn. That is the strongest point of time. Remember sundown and the giving away tonight. Remember your birth, how your mother struggled to give you form and breath. Your evidence of her life and her mother's and hers. Remember your father. He is your life also. Remember the earth, whose skin you are. Red earth, black earth, yellow earth, white earth, brown earth. We are earth. Remember the plants, trees, animal life, who all have their tribes, their families, their histories too. Talk to them, listen to them. They are alive poems. Remember the wind, remember her voice. She knows the origin of this universe. Remember, you are all people and all people are you. Remember, you are this universe and this universe is you. Remember, all is in motion, is growing, is you. Remember, language comes from this. Remember, the dance language is, that life is. Remember. So very slowly, changing the form of meditation from more formal to more of a listening and sharing meditation. And while you go into this transition, maybe with some movements or some stretches, I like to throw in the remembering of Dana, this amazing platform only exists because all of us. And there are high costs involved actually to keep this all running. And I think it's so precious. We are all in this together and we are supporting this practice and supporting ourselves through also supporting financially through this happening. And the money you share, and I post the link there, and I'm curious to see if this will work. Yeah. The money you share today and this week will be shared among Sangha Life and myself, and it's really so much appreciated. Thank you so much for your dana. It's always not possible to thank you at the end after I received it, so I thank you now also in name of my family and my children. I'm relying on your generosity. So, dear fellow travelers, where are you? How landed this for you? What's there to be expressed? Ruth is asking, might you share your thoughts on identity politics and how that fits in with the Dharma's view on dissolving identity and finding connection at the source from which we all come? I speak as the white mother of a black son. Okay. Might you share your thoughts on identity politics? I don't know exactly what you mean by identity politics, Ruth. Sounds like a really interesting question, but I don't quite get it. So, I mean, I can share what's coming up there for me. But I don't know if this is meeting your question, Ruth. I'm sorry. But yeah, I mean, identity politics. I don't know what you mean, Ruth. I'm sorry. What comes up for me is like when it comes to identity politics in terms of gender, in terms of sex, in terms of race, is that, okay, there's a movement to join together with like people, same skin color or sexual orientation. Yeah, I mean, I hear the meditation teacher talking about offering a retreat and then asking a black person to join the retreat. And this person said, I'm not mad. I'm not joining this group where only white people are sitting. And I think we overview how it feels when you enter a room and you are the only white person or you're the only person of color. Like it really does something to you. So the movement towards meeting up together is like so natural, and I think it can really encourage yourself to stand up for your rights, encourage yourself to speak out your voice. And at the same time, yes, there can be a strong identity forming around that, which can lead again to suffering. And there can come unwholesome actions out of these groups also, of course, like we all have this. And there, I don't know another way than practice, but it might need, because if you have been like at the side of society and like to pushed away for so long, I mean, it's going on so long, this oppression and how you say, I'm missing the English word, that it's so natural that first it becomes very strong and you super identify with this. And I don't see it as a problem. I mean, it can definitely be a problem. I don't want to like make this small. But in general, like it can just help you to feel your roots, and it can help you to ground and to feel the sense of belonging. And from there, like if you have this group, from there would need the opening and the Dharma and the insights there to see there we are one, just one, we are all part of it. Yeah, I don't know if that really meets what you were pointing out to. Yeah, and I think it's just so important to really be honest with our own judgments there and thoughts, because I think they're very, very subtle. Until, I don't know, maybe 5 years ago, I thought I wouldn't have like any difficulties with any of these issues. And then as I look deeper and deeper and deeper, and I listen to people, and listening is really a big aspect of that, it came out to me like, whoa, I still have to learn a lot. I still have to understand a lot. So now I actually managed to post the Dana button here. So the poem is from Joy Harjo, and it's called Remembering. I think I posted that. All right, Jane, you want to come on screen? I do my best. I'm excited to see. If you raised up your hand, I will be able to see it more easy. And there are two Janes, Jane Bennett and Jane. So this is Jane Hara. Okay. Okay, here it is. Thank you putting it up. So I do this. Remove. Oh, you're already there. Sorry, I didn't see that. Hey, Jane.
Hey.
Hey.
I think it might be a little late now. It's just 2 minutes to the hour for the question that I had.
It's fine. I can come back to that tomorrow.
Yes, but
Yeah,
I just wanted to say thank you so much for bringing the topic of belonging, because it's something that's been close to me my whole time since I returned to England after growing up in Burma and being in a Buddhist culture, and then the terrible shock of coming back to the English culture and never feeling like I belonged at all. And that has had repercussions in the whole of my life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe I'll find time to ask the question tomorrow. Thank you.
Yeah. Do you want to ask it now? And maybe I can just say a sentence and we can come back to this tomorrow. I will note that down.
Yes, it's something about not feeling that I belong in the culture of my own daughter's family, because I'm so affected. I've just returned, so affected by the young people that are around who live their lives with their heads bent in their phones, and the young boys who are 9, 10 and 11 in my grandson's school. He's only 5. They look like zombies. They don't look like real people anymore. And I'm so distressed by that, even though I know how to do the work that reconnects and let go of my distress about so many things. And I don't feel I belong in my daughter's family because there's nowhere to talk about those things.
Yeah. Thank
That's
you so
a big
much.
subject to open just now.
Yeah. But I'm sure we all connect to that. Like everybody who's listening here, it's an amazing question. And it, in a way, the question itself, like there's already showing some of the answer as you're raising the question, because it moves my heart and it moves other people's hearts, and we are in this together. And I do have 3 children, and I know what you're talking about, and I know how hard this is. So the first thing here would be really to allow yourself to feel the grief and to attend again and again towards your own pain there, towards your own judgments if they come, and they might come at times, and all this, what is going on, and really do this again and again and again. I need to do this again because I have this grief about that. And so this is the first thing I suggest. And the second thing is to connect to the purity in all those beings. Connect to the purity in the kids. It's there. It's there. Connect to their hearts and really speak to their hearts. And if you can't do that in person, like keep it alive. Keep it alive. Sometimes I recommend like even like taking a blanket at times, imagining it's the child you can't get in contact with. And there is a shift somehow in your system, which makes it possible to carry the situation more lightly, more tenderly. And then again, you will have openness and really recognizing the moments when there is connection happening to the people you can't connect to, you feel like you don't belong to. Being aware, like, where do you belong? Being aware of the really tiny aspects of it. Being aware of where you make a difference. Yeah. Does this land somewhere for you?
Yes, completely.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
And it's so good you expressed this. Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much. So I'm over with the time, and try to note down your questions so I can come back to them tomorrow. And I'm really grateful for your participation in the chat. And I also saw there was another question of how we can come close to the people who isolate themselves from ourselves. And yet what rises up for me first is just the question, like, why do you want to become close? What is the need underneath that, and address that need? Like, with all this, what is going on, we always have the reactions of fight, flight, or freeze. Like, if there's war, a new war happening, it's fight, flight, or freeze in ourselves, and we need to address that first in ourselves, and then we can reach out. And it's, yeah, all about belonging. Thank you so much for joining, for participating. Lots and lots of love to all of you, and I hope we meet each other tomorrow again. Bye.